You're doing the work of two people at the office. You're the one everyone comes to when something needs to get done right. At home, you're managing everything: schedules, logistics, emotions, decisions. And you're holding resentment you're not saying out loud. Not because people are doing anything to you, because you keep saying yes when you mean no. You're taking on more than you can handle, and you haven't told anyone that you're at your limit. Your husband asks if you can handle the school pickup again this week. You say sure. Your colleague asks if you could cover that meeting. You say no problem. The team member needs just 5 more minutes, and an hour later, you're still there waiting. And the resentment builds. Every time you say yes when you should have said no, it stacks up. At work, at home, in every relationship where you're managing more than your share and nobody knows. The problem isn't saying no. You already know how to say no. You decline projects that don't fit the strategy. You push back on unrealistic timelines. You redirect requests to other team members. The problem is deciding when to say no to things that impact your emotions. Those decisions happen all day, under pressure, in seconds, and you need a framework for making them. I'm Davina Dandridge, author, professor, and emotional strategist. This is Brains and Bobbles Live, where we talk about sophisticated empowerment, strategic living, and refined emotional mastery that helps high achieving women make decisions today that they'll be happy for 5 years from now. Today, we're talking about the resentment you're holding in silence, why you keep saying yes when you mean no, and how to use the self gut check method to decide strategically and in real time. So, let's get into this. Here's what I want you to understand: your emotions impact your thinking impacts your behavior, and your behavior creates your environment, both your current environment and your future one. Right now, you're holding resentment. That's the emotion. The resentment is making you think things like, no one can help me, or I have to do everything myself, or if I don't do it, it won't get done right. That's the thinking you're doing. That thinking makes you say yes to everything because you believe if you don't handle it, it will fall apart. That's the behavior. And that behavior creates an environment where you're managing everything and people assume you're fine because you keep saying yes. That's the environment. So here's the truth: resentment isn't other people's fault. It's your indication that your decision making process, it failed you. Your husband can't read your mind. You haven't even told him that you need help. Every time he asks you if you can handle something, you say yes. You're teaching him that you can handle everything. He's not refusing to help you, he doesn't know that you need help. Listen, here's a saying that I used to say: closed mouths don't get fed. Your husband can't respond to what you haven't said to him. Your team can't know you're at your limit unless you tell them, right? When you say yes to everything, they assume that you have the ability to handle it. They're not trying to overload you, they're going to the person who delivers. Research from organizational psychology shows the more competent you are, the more people will ask of you. And they're not being malicious, it's leadership reality. People go to the person who gets the things done. But here's what the research also shows: leaders who say yes to everything experience lower team respect over time. And here's why: your team can see that you're overloaded. When you keep saying yes anyway, they lose respect for your judgment. They start to question if you can actually determine what really matters. So the resentment that you're holding on to is not their failure, it's your communication gap. You're saying yes when you mean no. You're not communicating your true capacity. You're making decisions based on fear. Fear they'll think that you can't handle everything. Fear you'll look uncommitted, or fear you'll damage the relationship. But the problem is, you already know how to say no. At work, you say no all the time. You say no to projects that don't serve the strategy. You say no to timelines that aren't realistic. You say no to requests that should go to somebody else. The issue isn't assertiveness. The issue is deciding when to say no to things that hold so much emotional weight. And those decisions happen in seconds. You don't have time to overthink. You need a framework for deciding in the moment. And that's what we're discussing today. Let me show you how to decide when to say no when a request comes in at work, at home, or from anyone. You run it through 5 questions. These questions help you decide strategically instead of reactively. Here's how it works. Question 1: how am I feeling about this request? Name the emotion. Is it validity, a genuine willingness to help? Is it hypersensitivity, reacting to past experiences? Is it selfishness, only thinking about what you want? Or is it love, genuine care for this person or project? You can't make a clear decision until you know what emotion is driving it. Here's what I mean. Your colleague asks if you can cover a meeting tomorrow. You feel something rising up. So, what is it? Is it genuine willingness because you care about the project? Or is that guilt because you said no last time and you worry they'll think that you're not a team player? Once you name it, that guilt or genuine willingness, you can separate the emotion from the facts. Question 2: what do you want to gain out of this situation? Be honest. Are you saying yes because you actually want to help? Or are you saying yes to avoid looking like you can't handle it, or to gain approval, or to protect the relationship? If you're saying yes to avoid guilt or fear, then that's a reactive decision. If you're saying yes because it genuinely serves your goals, then that's a strategic decision. Know the difference. Question number 3: am I willing to see this thing through to the end? This is the key question. If you say yes, will you resent them later? Will you resent yourself? Because if the answer is yes, then that's your signal. That yes is going to cost you not just time, not just energy, emotional space, intimacy, trust in yourself. If you can't say yes without resentment, the yes should be a no. Question number 4: how will my words or actions influence this situation? Will saying yes clarify the situation or create confusion? Will it solve the problem or create a new one? Will it strengthen a relationship or damage it over time? Consider the impact, not just to them, but on your future self. Question 5: is this the right time? Do you have the space for this? Or are you saying yes with fear or guilt? Because if you are already at your emotional limit and you say yes anyway, you're not being helpful. You're being reckless with your capacity, with your relationships, and with your emotional health. This is not the right time, or is it? If the answer is no, then the answer to the request is also no. Now, listen, your husband isn't your therapist. You're not dumping every emotion on him and expecting him to fix it. But you do need to communicate your emotional weight strategically. There's a difference between saying, I'm so overwhelmed, everything is falling apart, I can't do this anymore, and saying, I need your help with something specific. I'm at my limit this week and I just need your help with dinner Thursday and Friday. One is a dump, the other is a request. You can't ask for help without emasculating him. How you communicate matters. His role at home is to cover and protect you, but he can't do that if you don't tell him what you need. When you communicate strategically, you're not burdening him. You're inviting him into partnership, you're honoring his position. Right now, you might not feel that comfort. You might not feel safe being vulnerable and asking for help. Vulnerability is allowing yourself the freedom to trust someone with information, with tasks, or with needs at a time when you could easily be hurt. But that's the part of your future life strategy. You should develop this area of your marriage with the same strategy you use at work. Start small, one conversation, one request, or one boundary to get it started. Build the habit of strategic communication. Over time, this becomes the foundation of deep intimacy. You'll be able to say no and ask for help, knowing your emotions are protected. And that's the goal. The Proverbs 31 woman, and she is the ideal model of sophisticated womanhood. She wasn't doing everything herself. She delegated tasks to other people. She hired people to do jobs that would distract her from what really mattered. She built a community to help her achieve the environment she desired. She was a future thinker who minimized stress by managing resources strategically, including asking for help when she needed it. Proverbs 31:11 says, "The heart of her husband doth safely trust her." And why is this? Because she was strategic. She didn't manage everything in silence. That's the model: strategic communication, strategic partnership, not silence and resentment. The self gut check method helps you decide in the moment. It helps you name what you're feeling, understand what's driving the yes, and choose strategically. It prevents resentment by helping you decide before you say yes to something you'll regret. The emotional sophistication map will help you identify exactly where you're saying yes when you mean no, what emotions are driving those decisions, and what specific steps you need to take next. It takes 5 minutes. It gives you a personalized roadmap. You can access it in the description. Let me tell you what staying silent about your emotional weight is stealing from you. You're sacrificing intimacy with your husband. Listen, intimacy with your husband isn't optional. Emotionally, you need to be vulnerable to someone, and your relationship with your husband is designed specifically for this. Not your girlfriends, not your mom, not your therapist, your husband. But resentment destroys intimacy faster than conflict does. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you take on something you should have asked him to cover, every time you stay silent about your emotional capacity, resentment builds, and resentment creates distance. You can't expect deep intimacy while managing everything alone. Vulnerability requires communication. Trust requires honesty. You have to tell him what you need. Here's the thing: his position at home is to cover and protect you, but he can't cover what he doesn't know about. He can't protect your emotional weight if you don't communicate your limits. When you stay silent, you're not protecting the relationship. You're blocking the intimacy that you need. You're sacrificing credibility at work. The more competent you are, the more people will ask of you. That's leadership reality. But when you say yes to everything, something shifts. Your team starts to see that you're overloaded. And when you keep saying yes anyway, they don't respect you anymore. They respect you less. Why? It's because you're not protecting your emotional capacity. You're not discerning what matters. You're just saying yes to avoid looking uncommitted. And that makes you look like that you can't lead strategically. Leaders who can't say no become the bottlenecks. Your team can't move forward because everything has to go through you. You can't move forward because you're buried under everyone else's requests. You're sacrificing your leadership effectiveness by not setting boundaries. Strategic no's make you a better leader, not a difficult one. You're sacrificing your future self. Every yes you give out of guilt or fear builds an environment where you're always overloaded. You're training people that you have unlimited emotional weight to handle. You're making decisions based on fear. If I say no, they'll think I can't handle it. Instead of strategy, does this serve who I'm becoming? The woman you're becoming doesn't hold resentment in silence. She communicates her limits. She asks for help. She says no strategically. But if you keep making decisions based on who you've been, you'll never become who you're meant to be. You're sacrificing your future by maintaining your past. Let me show you what life looks like when you start using the self gut check method to decide when to say no. You stop holding resentment because you're communicating. You're telling your husband when you need help. You're telling your team when you're at your limit. You're not expecting anyone to read your mind. You're making strategic requests and people are responding. The resentment that used to build every time you said yes, it doesn't build anymore because you say yes when you mean it. And when you say no, you mean that too. You build intimacy with your husband, not the surface level, we're fine intimacy, deep intimacy, the kind where you can be vulnerable and you know he's got you. You communicate your emotional weight without guilt. You ask for help without emasculating him. You invite him into your partnership instead of managing everything alone. He covers you, he protects you. Not because you begged or complained, but because you communicated strategically. You honored his position. You trusted him with your limits. That's the shift that matters. That's the marriage the woman you're becoming is building. You earn more respect at work because you're discerning. You're saying yes to what matters and no to what doesn't. Your team sees that you protect your emotional capacity and they respect your judgment. You're not the bottleneck anymore. You're a strategic leader who knows what serves the vision and what is just noise. Strategic no's create space for meaningful yeses, and that makes you more effective, not less. You build the right future. The decisions you make today connect with the woman you're becoming. You're not saying yes out of guilt or fear. You're saying yes because it serves your future. And when it doesn't, you say no without apology, without guilt, just with clarity. That's emotional sophistication. That's what makes you unstoppable. This is who you're becoming. The woman who communicates strategically, the woman who asks for help without shame, the woman who says no without guilt, and yes without resentment. Now, if you're watching this thinking, Davina, I need support actually doing this work, I understand. First, grab the emotional sophistication map. It takes 5 minutes. It helps you identify exactly where you're saying yes when you mean no, what emotions are driving those decisions, and what specific steps you need to take next. It gives you a personalized roadmap. You can access it right here in the description. If you need deeper support, I created the Self Gut Check Method course. It walks you through all 5 questions in detail, gives you real time examples for work and home, and helps you build a habit of strategic decision making. You get video lessons, worksheets, and real case studies from women navigating this exact struggle, and access to a community doing this work right alongside you. If you need real time strategic support, Sophie is here. I created Sophie specifically for women like you. She's not generic AI advice. She's a sophisticated, elegant, professional level emotional strategist built entirely on my proprietary frameworks, the self gut check method and the bling concept. Sophie gives you a private space to process what you're feeling without having to explain yourself to another person first. She helps you run through the self gut check questions when a request comes in. She helps you decide in real time whether to say yes or no. She's available whenever you need her. Before a difficult conversation with your husband, she's there. When a colleague asks for something and you're not sure how to respond, she's there. Sophie is unique in the marketplace. She's designed for women of your caliber who value discretion, depth, and real emotional empowerment. You can access her through the link in the description. If you need one on one support, I offer refinement sessions. These are premium consultations where we identify exactly where resentment is building, create your personalized communication strategy, and help you build the marriage and the leadership presence that you want. These sessions are for women ready to stop holding resentment and start communicating strategically. Spots are limited. The link is in the description. Here's what I want you to remember: resentment isn't other people's fault. It's your signal that you're saying yes when you mean no. Your husband can't read your mind. Your team can't know your emotional limits until you tell them. Your emotions impact your thinking. Your thinking impacts your behavior. Your behavior creates your environment. When you use the self gut check method, you make strategic decisions that build the right future. Your yes should mean yes. Your no should mean no. When you say yes but mean no, you're not being kind. You're being unclear. You're creating confusion in your relationships and you're teaching people that your words don't match your emotional capacity. Strategic decision making honors both the request and your reality. When you say yes and you mean it, people can trust your commitment. When you say no and you mean it, people can respect your boundaries. But when you say yes and resent it, it's where intimacy dies. That's where credibility erodes. That's where your future self suffers. If this resonated with you, share it with a woman who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Brains and Bobbles Live so you don't miss the next conversation. Grab the Emotional Sophistication map to start making strategic decisions today. I'm Davina Dandridge. This is Brains and Bobbles Live. I'll see you in the next one.